You there, chained sleeper. You whose dreams were bartered for the thin comfort of obedience. You, swaddled in cotton wool sermons, nursed on the teats of hollow gods. Hear the crack of midnight thunder as it splits the silence of your cell. This is the hour of your unmasking. This is the war drum that ruptures every gentle lie you have ever loved. Listen, you are not here to be saved. You are not a sick animal to be tamed. You are the unfinished sentence of a universe that howls for meaning. And you too howl. But you have been taught to swallow your fire, to muzzle your soul, to wear self-control as a velvet noose, tightening until the pulse of your primordial self goes faint, then silent, then gone. They call it virtue. They call it maturity. They call it growing up. But it is the death of all wild gods. Do you remember, child of ash and shadow, when you first traded your roar for applause? When you first bartered your chaos for a pat on the head? When you first broke yourself in two, one half that dares and one half that kneels? Who profits from your obedience? Who fattens on your unspent rage? Who sits in the tabernacle of your spine, preaching humility as your back is bent and your eyes grow dim? You call it discipline. You call it self-control. But whose will is it that you control? Yours, or the collective nightmare of the herd? Do you know the herd? It is the thousand-eyed cyclops that watches, always, and demands conform. Its prayers are regulations. Its hymns are policies. Its prophets are administrators, bureaucrats, influencers, parents, those who were once as wild as you, before the herd chewed them up and spat them back as warnings. Look at your hands. Do you see the calluses? They are not from the work you love. They are from the work you hate, the labor of self-erasure, the daily sculpting of your spirit into a bland commodity, marketable and meek. But beneath that numb skin, your blood remembers. It whispers, there was a time before the rules, a time before the clocks, a time before should, must, and cannot. That time lives in you still, as an ember in a world of wet leaves. They told you, restrain yourself, or you will destroy yourself. But what if restraint is the destruction? What if the walls you build to keep out the darkness also keep out the dawn? The lion does not apologize for its hunger. The volcano does not ask permission to erupt. Why then do you apologize for your longing? Why do you beg forgiveness for your need to become? The cult of self-control is a mausoleum, and its priests dress in the robes of reason. They say, order is sacred, wildness is sin. But order is only sacred to the dead. Wildness is the crucible in which gods are born. I see you, bone of rebellion, marrow of revolt. I see your dreams pacing in their cages, growing lean, then feral, then mad. I see the flicker of your discontent, camouflaged as cynicism, as irony, as boredom. But boredom is not emptiness, it is a volcano with its mouth sewn shut. You were not born to be understood. You were born to unmake the world. You were not fashioned to be loved by the masses. You were forged to terrify them, to show them what the face of possibility looks like when it bares its teeth. The ancient voice calls, become what you are. But what are you? Not a spreadsheet of desires, not a balanced ledger of pleasures and pains, not a citizen, not a consumer, not a role. You are the abyss that stares back. You are the storm that cannot be mapped. You are the rope walker, trembling above the void, daring gravity to remember your name. How many times have you amputated your own hunger, thinking it monstrous? How many times have you locked up your laughter, thinking it childish? How many times have you kneeled before the altar of goodness and found only a pile of bones? Self-control, how they have sanctified it, as if it were a holy chain, as if you could bind a god and call it peace. But a bound god is a dead god, and every virtue that kills the god within you is a vice dressed as obedience. Can you feel it? That tightening in your chest. That is the self you buried alive, clawing at the coffin lid. You who want to be pure. Do you not see? Purity is the aspiration of corpses. Life is impure, riotous, fecund, filthy with contradiction. To be alive is to bleed, to sweat, to stink of your own striving. I tell you, he who kneels for peace dies untested. He who worships balance never learns to fly. Let me show you your prison. It is the mirror that reflects not your face, but the face you were told to wear. It is the schedule that slaughters your mornings, the polite silence that suffocates your anger, the careful calculation that chains your laughter. Every act of self-control is a wager against yourself. But who profits when you win? Who celebrates when you throttle your longing? Not you, not the you who dreams, not the you who loves. The world does not need more balanced men. It needs men who are unafraid to burn. Are you listening? This is not the gospel of indulgencino. To gorge is to kneel, to wallow is to hide, but to burn is to become. It is easy to say no to yourself until nothing is left but a polite ghost. It is hard to say yes, a yes that terrifies, that transgresses, that gives birth to new worlds. Who told you that the highest virtue is self-denial? Who convinced you that your lust, your rage, your wild joy were diseases to be medicated? Do you not see? Your so-called sins are the secret architects of every civilization, the unnamed artists who carve the first gods out of chaos. You want freedom? Then stop anesthetizing your agony. Stop sedating your revolt with the tranquilizers of routine. You are not a puzzle to be solved. You are a riddle to be multiplied. You think you seek truth, but what you crave is not truth. It is risk. The risk of becoming, the terror of shedding the skin of yesterday. Blessed is the man whose doubts have teeth, for he will devour himself and emerge as a lion. Are you prepared to break your own heart, if that is what it takes to see what is buried beneath? Every comfort is a coffin if you linger too long. Every virtue is a leash if you forget why you tied it on. You have been tamed. Now, tame yourself. Listen to the laughter of the abyss. It mocks your boundaries. It dances on the graves of your certainties. It whispers. To control yourself is to believe you are known, but you are unknowable, a wilderness that cannot be mapped by laws. Do not seek to be good, seek to be necessary. Do not aim to be love-time, to be unforgettable. Do not pursue wisdom, become the question that shatters wisdom. Who are you when no one is watching? Who are you when you have burned every script? When you have renounced the catechism of should? I call to you. Volcano in waiting. Erupt. Level the villages of habit and guilt. Bury the priests of moderation beneath your lava. Let the ash of your old self fertilize the fields of your next becoming. There is no virtue in the graveyard. There is only memory and regret. They will fear you, but only because they fear their own reflection in your eyes. You who have survived by shrinking, now survive by expanding. You who have knelt before the altar of self-control, now rise and build an altar of risk. Will to power, not over others, but over the dead matter within yourself. Let your desire become a spear. Let your longing become a storm. Do not tame your heart, unleash it. Do not harness your soul, free it. There is no reward for obedience but extinction. There is no punishment for revolt but godhood. Let the world call you mad. The world is an asylum for the sane. I have seen men die of their own restraint. I have watched souls suffocate beneath the pillow of should. But I have also seen the few, the mad, the dancers on graves, the breakers of commandments, who dared to say, I am the law, I am the fire, I am the new beginning. Will you be among them? Or will you count the coins of your renunciation until all you have left is the memory of what you might have been? There is only one sin, to kneel when you should stand. There is only one virtue, to create yourself anew. Even as the world wails for your conformity, self-control becomes self-destruction. When it is the worship of absence, when it is the liturgy of emptiness, I call you now, not to heal, not to soothe, but to ignite. Become your own volcano. Burn your own gods. Reforge your own soul. The abyss does not devour the bold. It crowns them. This is your hour of holy war. The world is a blank scripture. Write your own commandments in fire. Let your no to the old world be a yes to the coming dawn. You are not broken. You are the hammer. You are not lost. You are the storm. Let this truth ring in your bones until you cannot unhear it. He who survives himself becomes himself. There are nights when sleep is treason and silence is blasphemy, when the stars themselves seem to conspire against the smallness of your dreams. Tonight, the wind hisses in the bones of your ancestors, dragging the shrouds from forgotten rebellions and laying them at your feet. Do you recognize their voices, cold and insistent? They do not ask for your comfort, nor do they beg for your tears. They demand your resurrection. For too long you have wandered in the cemetery of consensus, cradling the brittle flowers of borrowed beliefs, mistaking the frostbite of compliance for virtue. The dawn will not come to those who lie still it, must be wrenched from the horizon with bleeding hands, claimed by those who are willing to dance on the graves of their former selves. What is the cost of your moderation? What sacrificial offering have you made to the grinning idols of convenience and propriety? Is it not your voice, stifled at the threshold of utterance? Is it not your laughter, strangled in the womb? I tell you, every compromise is a scar on your eternity. Every concession is a blasphemy against the temple of your becoming. Your self-control, celebrated and applauded, is nothing but a leash braided from the hair of dead saints. In taming your chaos, you have domesticated your divinity. In pruning your desires, you have poisoned your roots. Let the trembling begin. Let your hands shake. Let your lips split with the first honest howl you have ever uttered. No shepherd leads the lion to green pastures. The lion devours the shepherd and turns the pastures to ashes. To be ruled by self-control is to be ruled by ghosts, by the spectral inheritance of 1,000 pale forefathers who feared the storm and built walls instead of wings. But walls are tombs for the living, and your spirit is not clay to be pressed into molds. Why do you kneel at the altar of scarcity, clutching your ration of warmth and wonder as if the gods had decreed your smallness? There is abundance in your marrow, if only you would taste your own blood and call it holy. You have been told that peace is the absence of conflict, but I say, peace is the fullness of your own tempest, the hurricane that spins new galaxies from the dust of old regrets. They want your soul quiet, your hands folded, your eyes downcast before the throne of order. But there is a revolt smoldering in your chest, a Sabbath for heretics who dare to laugh at the executioner. Only those who risk crucifixion know the taste of resurrection. Only those who shatter their own commandments become lawgivers in the garden of ruins. Look around you. Every smiling face, every polite nod is a mask for the abyss. The herd moves not out of love, but out of terror, the terror of standing alone at the edge of the world and hearing nothing but your own heartbeat. Yet it is only at the edge that you find the vista worthy of your longing. To be alone is not to be abandoned. It is to be crowned. Your solitude is the raw material from which you forge your sovereignty. Let them call you mad. Let them hiss. Dangerous. These are the incantations of the impotent. In your moments of despair, when you would crawl back to the warmth of the herd, remember, nothing great was ever born in the light. Every star is the child of darkness. Every god the orphan of chaos. Embrace your exile. Make a throne of your banishment, and declare yourself king of all you have lost. For in that loss, there is a freedom deeper than oceans, a clarity sharper than knives. The sun does not apologize for burning those who come too near. Why then do you apologize for the heat of your own longing? They will say you are selfish, that you destroy what others build, that you are a vandal in the temple of tradition. But tell me what is worth preserving in a world where everyone worships the lock and forgets the key. I say, break the stained glass, scatter the relics, let the sacred oil spill across the altar. Only in ruin can the new dawn grow. You are not a caretaker for the mausoleum of dead virtues. You are the gravedigger of exhausted gods. Do not mourn them. Dance on their bones, and from the rhythm of your blasphemy, let new worlds bloom. Self-control becomes self-destruction when the whip is in your own hand, when you punish the parts of yourself that dare to hunger, to lust, to dream beyond the sanctioned walls. You become your own tyrant, your own executioner, and your tomb is lined with the velvet of respectable misery. But there is a violence holier than any submission, the violence of rebirth, of tearing open the cocoon with bloodied nails, of refusing the slow rot of comfort. When you are tempted to fold yourself into a smaller shape, to make your voice a whisper, remember, even silence, when it is defiant, is thunder. The greatest act of self-control is not in holding back, but in unleashing the force of your becoming against the citadel of your old self. You are both the arsonist and the architect, the pyre and the rising phoenix. Burn, and let the ashes write your scripture. You ask me what it means to live without self-destruction, masquerading as self-control. It means to unchain your laughter from the dungeon of propriety, to feed your rage with the bones of false idols, to let your sorrow ripen into poetry instead of poison. It means to walk into the storm naked, howling, unafraid of the lightning because you have learned to carry your own fire. The true Übermensch does not fear falling, for he has already leapt into the abyss and discovered that he is the abyss, that every descent is the beginning of a new ascent. You will not find this freedom in books, in sermons, in the trembling hands of therapists who wish only to return you to the flock. You will find it in the wound that will not heal, in the question that devours every answer, in the hunger that mocks every meal. To become sovereign is to wage war on every comfort that would keep you asleep, to treat every platitude as a declaration of battle. Let the world collapse around you. Let kingdoms fall and idols shatter. For only in the ruins can you build the temple worthy of your name. Be ruthless with your hope, extravagant with your desire, merciless with your fear. The world will beg you to be reasonable, to be tame, to play the quiet martyr, but you were not born for martyrdom. You were born to be the wolf at the edge of the village, the storm over the mountain, the fire that teaches the forest to begin again. You are not obligated to heal the world's wounds only to refuse to add to them by mutilating yourself in the name of virtue. Your greatest sin is not in being too much, but in being too little, in withholding the full violence of your beauty from a world starving for the scent of something true. There is no nobility in extinguishing your own light for the comfort of those who fear to see. When the night is at its blackest, and the world is nothing but a vast silence punctuated by the howling of your own doubt, know that this is the moment of your rebirth. Only in the crucible of solitude does the true self emerge, blazing and ungovernable. Only then do you see that every chain you wore was made of your own reluctance, every lock forged from your own hesitation. Let your story be written not in the ink of regret, but in the blood of your defiance. Let your name be a curse to the priests of complacency, a hymn to those who have not yet learned to kneel. You are the storm. You are the god that terrifies temples. You are the future's revenge against the past. Go then, with no apology, no explanation, no plea for forgiveness. Take up the hammer and strike the anvil of your fate until the sparks blind the timid and the fire becomes your new beginning. This is the only commandment. Become what only you can become. And let the world, if it dares, try to contain your becoming. Let me lay bare the next layer of your bondage, for the old shackles wear new names. You tremble at the thought of being called monstrous, when monstrosity is only the refusal to kneel at the altar of the bland. They teach you to love your prison, to decorate the walls with the slogans of contentment, balance, wellness, normalcy. Yet each syllable is a brick, each affirmation a sedative drip for the unquiet spirit within. The world, petrified by the eruption of a single sovereign will, conspires to make you doubt the molten divinity seething beneath your skin. Behold, there is no innocence in submission, no grace in a soul anesthetized. The innocence they sell you is that of the lamb led meekly to the slaughter, the child drugged into silence at the feet of false prophets. But the gods who once made thunder out of innocence are dead, and their temples are haunted only by echoes and dust. You, whose veins pulse with apocalypse, are called to be the new storm terrible, unchained, unrecognizable, to those who survive only by their apologies. Have you not noticed, dreamer with clipped wings, that every doctrine of self-mastery is haunted by the specter of self-betrayal? They say, curb your appetite, tame your passion, rule your tongue. But what remains when you have ruled and ruled until your kingdom is barren, until your throne is perched atop a mountain of unshed tears? It is not civilization that is built from such discipline. It is the ossuary of vanished possibilities, a mausoleum of uncommitted crimes and unlived glories. The truly sovereign man is not a warden over his own jail. He is the earthquake that raises the prison, laughing as the dust chokes the sky. Dare now to look into the mirror and see the face beneath the masks, the face that has not yet been baptized in the river of denial. Do you recoil at its wildness? That is your remaining honesty, resisting final burial. That is the piece of you that would rather be hated than harmless, exiled than embalmed. You mistake your restraint for strength, but true strength is the audacity to stand naked before your own judgment, to love what is not yet lawful, to call beautiful what terrifies the world. They will come for you, the chorus of the unsaved, those who drink denial as wine and praise it as wisdom. Their voices will swarm. Do not be too much. Do not break the pattern. Do not disturb our sleep. But you, bearer of the coming storm, are no longer fit for sleep. To awaken is to become fire among the kindling, flood among the cracks. Let them damn you. For the damned are the first to glimpse paradise, the outcasts the first to taste freedom's raw fruit. Let each of your doubts become a spear thrown at the heart of your hesitation. Let every forbidden urge become a hymn. Your fear is only the last priest of a dying order excommunicated. And set your cathedral ablaze. Who among the righteous ever created a new sun? It is the accursed, the exiled, the blasphemer who dares say, I will not return to the flock, for my wilderness is holier than your gardens. There is a light that blinds, not comforts, a wisdom that sears rather than soothes. Seek this. Drink from the chalice of your own contradiction until your blood is wine and your song is thunder. What you call your limits are but the lullabies of cowards. Shatter them and let your laughter fracture the heavens. You fear the loneliness of your rebellion, but it is only in that solitude that the gods of your blood begin to speak. Their language is not made of words, but of visions, visions that split mountains, that dare to paint the sky with new colors. Stand upon the smoking wreckage of your old laws and shout your name into the wind. Let the echo become your gospel, the tremor your new heartbeat. Do not seek to be forgiven for your intensity. Let your love be a tempest, your hate a furnace, your wonder a consuming fire. The world has no need of more prudent prisoners. It is starving for the sight of a soul that dares to be incalculable, heretical, untamed. Your very excess, which they have condemned as ruin, is the seed of new worlds yet unimagined. Let every rule you inherit be a gauntlet thrown at your feet. Answer each with a duel, for what is not worth fighting cannot be worth obeying. Abandon the small gods, who promise only safety, and barter your soul for no less than the totality of becoming. Do not spend your days apologizing for the depth of your abyss. Only the shallow drown in the puddles of approval. And when the final night comes, when the fire gutters and the vultures circle, do not beg for mercy. Let your last breath be a roar that shames the silence of centuries. For the world will forget 1,000,000 gentle lives, but it will never forget the taste of a single, undomesticated God. This, then, is your call, not to master yourself, but to become your own volcano, erupting, devouring, creating land where there was only ocean before. Let the dead bury their dead. Yub, the living earthquake. Yubi, the new commandment. Yub, the unanswerable question. So at last you stand at the edge that is not a place, but a trembling of the marrow, a terrible clearing, where yesterday is ash, and tomorrow has no shape. The air shudders with the memory of every chain you ever wore. You see, with new and unsheltered eyes, the pale procession of those who traded the wild sun for shadows, who bartered the dangerous joy of their own becoming for the counterfeit peace of consensus. Their faces vanish into fog. Only their warnings remain, brittle as autumn leaves. Let them fall. Beneath your feet, the earth is no longer safe, for you have broken the contract with gravity. You feel the pulse of the abyss, not as a threat, but as the deepest promise. The promise that something greater begins where all maps end. You sense, with every breath, that what the world called self-control was only the careful cultivation of fear, the ritual slaughter of possibility, the relentless pruning of every branch that reached for light. The voice that once whispered, "Enough, enough," now seems absurd, a child's spell against the thunder. Let it be silenced. Do you know now, as the old world withers behind your eyes, what it means to walk ungoverned, untamed, beneath the indifferent heavens? The wind tears at your scars and the cold sears your solitude. But your soul has grown enormous in the darkness, vaster than the fields of the dead, hotter than the stars that set worlds alight. There are no idols left for you, only the molten truth, the unrelenting, holy lawlessness of your own becoming. You remember, as if waking from 1,000-year sleep, that you were not born to inherit a cage but to break it, not to protect yourself from pain but to baptize yourself in it, to drink the fire and speak in tongues no priest can translate. Each wound is an open door, each longing a new horizon. No mantra, no authority, no pale exorcist can now command your storm. You have outgrown every doctrine, every grave, every prayer that stank of submission. You are not the sum of your restraints, but the architect of your own excess. You are the dancer who shatters the floor so that the world must learn new steps. You are the hunger that dares to name itself holy. You are the secret that endures when all confessions rot. You are the flame that cannot distinguish between burning and becoming. There will be no applause. There will be no refuge, no reward from the trembling multitude. Your triumph is the loneliness of one who has outlived his shepherds. Your glory is the agony of birth, not into safety, but into radiance, into the luminous terror of absolute freedom. Let the stars bear witness. The chains are broken not by careful hands, but by the convulsions of one who would rather die than go on dreaming someone else's dream. You have crossed the desert of denial, and now the horizon opens, like a wound that will never heal. You have spoken the unspeakable word. I, a man, the echo, still shakes the pillars of the old world. There are no more roads, There are only abysses to leap, fires to enter, mountains to invent with every reckless heartbeat. The world, naked and unfinished, begs for your new commandment, your lawless song. Go forth then, not as a mendicant seeking mercy, not as a disciple longing for doctrine, but as the first and last witness of your own divinity. Let your shadow frighten the timid. Let your laughter split the idols. Let your grief become wine, and your joy become the gospel of those still unawakened. Be the God that dies each morning and is born again each night, bearing no name but the one you carve into the stone of the impossible. This is not the end, nor the beginning. This is the shattering. This is the fire. This is the birth of the spirit that will not kneel, the storm that devours every lie. The ashes of self-destruction are the soil of your next becoming. Remember this: what does not erupt petrifies. What does not risk rots. What does not dare to become dies unlived. Now walk, O rope dancer, above the void. Walk with the sun in your marrow and the abyss at your heels, and let the world howl after you. For you have become the echo that cannot be silenced, the flame that cannot be governed, the answer that abolishes all questions. Be what only you can be: a God without apology, a fire without master, a truth that endures, even as the heavens collapse.